Okay,
Oh,
so
we are
yeah.
live, 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 live. Good evening and welcome to Pekin and Blessing show tonight for myself and Autism Survivor Champion, Chris Israel. Chris, are you going to say hello to the people?
I
Eh, Hi, 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 hi. It's a very, 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 I'm so passionate about this topic tonight. And I
mm,
believe that by the grace of God, God will help us as we begin
mm,
to share, as we begin to go in and share
mm,
our experiences with autism as in
mm,
general, with autism in general,
mm,
and with the survivors and educating parents, educating the masses about
mm,
awareness of autism in our communities, in our churches, in our neighborhoods, in and
mm,
everywhere we are.
mm,
So just before we begin, I'm gonna just ask everybody, if you're here hearing me, kindly help us to like, share, invite more friends and families to come.
mm,
Invite your friends to come. I believe that as we're speaking, Chris will be ministering to thousands and thousands of parents. In fact, so many of you who saw the flyers have already contacted me, and so many of you have already said how much your lives has been touched by just the topic alone. So I really strongly believe that our experience here tonight is going to be a fruitful one.
mm,
Having said that, coming from a country like Sierra Leone, I'm a Sierra Leonean by birth. Only moved to UK here after going to primary school, secondary school, everything in Sierra Leone. So autism was one of the things that was never discussed in school. I never saw
mm.
any child or anybody teaching autism at all. So
That's true.
coming to UK is when I really heard about autism. I remember going to school at a very young age with a girl in a place called Pujehon. It's in
Mm,
the uh district of Sierra Leone. It's in a, I won't say village. But it's a rural area in Sierra Leone. I went to primary school there,
mm,
but during my primary school years, I remember going to school with a young girl called Lango. Lango, I believe then
mm,
Lango was autistic because the way Lango was, uh, she was different from all of us. But as a child, nobody really knew, or none of the teachers even knew what to do with her.
mm,
But coming here now, hearing what autism is, and
mm,
I think a couple of years ago when I went to Sierra Leone, I didn't see her, but I
mm,
heard that Lango was still alive. She'll be my age, so she'll be in her 40s now.
mm,
And I was really, really eager to see what Lango looks like, having known now what I know now. I wish I knew it then. I probably would have treated Lango differently. But
mm,
because of education. Anyway, that's why you're here. Good evening and welcome. If you're just joining me, my name is Jen Bun-kamara. I am here tonight with the lovely Prince Israel, the champion of all champions, autistic survivor. I am so happy to be here. Just before we get Chris to come on board, please, I would like you to like and share to your groups, share to your any group you may be in, your church
mm.
members, your church pastors, your church community. Kindly invite them. Somebody's watching us from Sierra Leone. Elizabeth Brewer is another activist of autism in Sierra Leone. And believe me, Elizabeth, we are coming. Myself and Chris, we are coming to Sierra Leone. We're coming to educate our churches, our communities about autism in
Mm.
our community. So, Elizabeth, please, if you're able to kindly like, share to your family, to your friends, to your church members, your community leaders, your bloggers who are activists in children's rights. Call
Mm.
them so that they can come, listen, understand, and we can all know how to treat autism in general. So, without further ado, I'm gonna welcome Chris. Chris, welcome to the show tonight. I can't wait to hear you speak.
Yeah.
Welcome, Autism Champion. So many people are so happy here. We have lots of people watching from Sierra Leone. By the way, Elizabeth's house is full of people.
Mm,
And I believe that all of them are gathered just to watch you speak, Chris, because we have like the issue of autism is like a pandemic that nobody have
mm,
a cure for, or nobody has a solution for in Sierra
mm,
Leone. So many parents, carers are
mm,
going through this, and it is a difficult state. Welcome to
mm.
the show tonight, Chris. I'm so
Yeah.
happy to have you on here.
Mm-hmm.
Over to you. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Pastor Jane. Thank you so much. I want to say hello to everyone in Sierra Leone, and you're all loved, and that you're all my friends, and you're just one big part of my life. And one thing I love about the Sierra Leone, they're really, really happy, and they're very, very energetic people. I've been around them, and they've really looked after me so much, and I cannot even forget them moments. And honestly, I am just so grateful to God just to be here, because sometimes, things don't happen like that, because I have spoken to Nigerian community first, then Ghanaian community came second. Now Sierra Leone community is now the third one. I just dropped on my list. And now South African community came fourth. So
Yes,
4 African continents I've touched down within
yes,
the space of years. So
yes,
it has been a great honor to stand in front of every single communities, like the Nigerians, which I'm basically from. I have stood in front of I've spoke in front of Ghanaian community, and I've spoken in front of South Africans, and now for the first time I am standing in front of Syrians. And honestly, I think before I just go where we need to go, I think it's very important that we must build up our knowledge all the time, because at times we get frustrated so much and we don't really read a lot of what to do. That's called not that's called downgrade. But if you want to know more, then you have to upgrade. And some of you who are like getting to know who I am, and I would say for me, I personally would say that I'm not ashamed of who I am, because back then, when I was growing up, in London, England, in the Nigerian community, everybody's understanding about autism was so limited. And I would not blame from that, because then those times the resources were limited, because
yes,
then Google was not alive, internet was not alive then. Everything was just dead. It was just like you either go to a speech therapist or a library to find some answers, and which is the only thing that one could have or do. But as years went by, everything was upgrading gradually, because Microsoft, I'm sure if us have heard of Microsoft before, Microsoft was still a baby in the game. They were just still, they were still new to the game when the 90s started, because then no internet was still around at the time. So there was no smartphones in time. So, I mean, but what I'm going to really say is that, you know, a lot of things, we have to take into consideration. And I would also want to give a brief. I've finished writing my new book as well. It's titled Can I Be Me? It's been inspired by my life journey, and I'm sure some of us are Christians, and it's been also been taken in John 9:3 as well. That's got that inspiration to write. I think it's also to open the eyes of every community about why is autism still exists, and what is the main thing. And I would say it's not your fault that your son or your daughter is autistic. It's not your fault they were like that. And
mm,
it's not their fault that they didn't really have that opportunity. It's not their fault that they had the life or had the chance to say whatever they need to say or to express what they need to express. It's because let me just be general if I can. If an African community is lacking knowledge, that is going to be a burden on the
Absolutely.
individual. Because if we don't sit down and take advice or listen to the ones who have been there before, you're going to do some things that you're not supposed to do.
Absolutely.
You're going to do some things you're going to regret. Because supposedly, if your child is severe and you hit him or you beat him, he will pick that one and he will get back at you. So, which is a no-go area. Because
Yes.
I've seen kids who are autistic and and they are very restless.
Yes.
And when they're severe and they're non-verbal, that is not that's not the right time to abuse them or to put them somewhere or take them to deliverance service. It's not the right time because if because some pastors don't know, sorry to say, they don't know how this whole
What?
thing started. They don't have a clue. They've got 0%, sorry to say, in Syria or maybe any other places in Africa, or etc., or even the Caribbean as well. So I would say in the aspect, knowledge is key.
Yes.
Like the Bible says, seek understanding. I'm not preaching, but I'm saying the truth. In all things, seek understanding and gain knowledge. If you don't seek understanding or get wisdom, you're just perishing left and right. So I would say it's not the fault of my mom and dad. I will not say it's not the fault of the church that I went to that was lacking knowledge.
Yes.
However, I will put it in that context. They think it's a spiritual matter, which is not. But some people think it's spiritual, which is not. Because if Jesus had compassion for those who have disabilities, he didn't say disabilities die, whatever, go to hell, all that bang, bang, bang. No. He had compassion. He didn't bully them. So what am I saying? If you have a son or a daughter, no matter how old they are, and they need your support, it is better to show it to them.
Yes.
They don't need you to compare them to anyone.
Any other.
Don't need you to like disgrace them and feel like you brought shame to them, which is not the issue. It's the mindset that needs to be questioned. If we don't train our mindsets, how are you going to deal with such things? Because another thing we will talk later on is, what are you doing with your child? And
Yes.
what are you giving to him or her? So that's just the little intro that I've given to the audience. But the real thing is you're gonna gain to know more about my life. Because I remember when I was born in this country in 1987, which is late that year. Actually, before then, mom was just about to have me, but they were telling mom the negative side of it. They were saying your boy is going to be little, is going to be non-verbal. They were trying to put as words into my mom's head, but mom went ahead and had me, but repercussions followed later in some years. So it was not necessarily it was not necessarily the doctor's fault, but mom went ahead. But going into 1991, the year I was diagnosed with autism, because I was not relating to children. I was not relating to those in the nursery.
Mm.
So some of you might have heard of nursery before. So they called speech therapists and other people to watch me and see what the matter was. So in that aspect, they now decided, to tell mom that I would needed a special needs school,
Mm.
which is very, very, which my mom wasn't really aware of what they do, because there was an offer they gave, but they turned it down. So they had to be waiting and waiting and waiting. When the offer came, that was when they took me in. Low and beyond. What's it called? Lo and beyond. They took me in, and sooner or later, I had no idea of what they were doing to me. Maybe they were trying to disgrace me, or they were trying to do something to me or take advantage. Because then at those years, we didn't have child protection.
Mm.
Because child protection was not known then. So those times they could do anything and just get away with it. Especially, let me balance it if I can. Church as well were not educated in terms of child protection, because that time there was no such thing as child protection, because they believe that if your child is naughty, then they fall in African discipline and beating and doing this, doing that, doing that. So it got to a point, what mom didn't realize was that I had a meltdown.
Mm.
That was where mom ignored it, which I strongly don't understand why. But I won't blame my mom fully, but a little bit, but a very little, just a little bit, for not being aware or sensitive to my attention. Because sometimes you'll just feel like, oh, you're just disturbing us, you won't let us do
Mm.
this. That's the mentality that my mom had. Because if she was trained in dealing with these things long time ago by somebody who's been an expert or someone that they can trust, then that way there would have been no need for that. But then she got to a point, she gave me to this brother in the church, but he's gone now.
Mm.
He's gone years ago. He's passed. He took me somewhere where nobody couldn't see, and he decided to take it upon himself and beat me up.
Oh my God.
He beat me up right during service. While service was on, that's where he beat me up. Not in
Mm.
front of everybody, but he beat me up somewhere. And that was just where I took the beating from him. I really did. And I really felt that I really felt that it was not really, really nice thing to go about it, because then if he did deal with it properly, then, you know, he would have dealt with properly, then there wouldn't have been no need. But majority, there was some, because the thing is, if I can't stay seated for long, it means I can't stay seated for long. But what I felt was that mom and dad were being a bit selfish,
Mm.
because they were being I'm not trying to talk bad about them or trying to say horrible things about them. I love them to death, and I thank them for doing what they have, what they've, what they should,
Don't worry.
yeah,
Mm.
what they could have done. But I felt, for me, I felt that, they could have gave a bit more attention, because there's some areas when they get frustrated, sometimes they'll take me outside and start beating me, etc., etc., which was not really the answer. But what that doesn't know is that when somebody is not states and somebody's not seated, somebody's not feeling settled,
Yes.
it's not his fault that he's like that.
Mm.
Because if you think that your child is settled, is not settled, and you think he's not, sometimes you'll just take him away, and then you'll just do those kind of things, and then that's where the big mistake comes in. It's only when I did something very bad, that is when you can now do stuff. But if I didn't do something bad and I'm in need, or I can't stay seated for long, then that is where you've got to now draw the balance,
Yes.
or you've got to learn to draw the line. Because if you don't draw the line, this is where things go badly mess. And at times, when you do stuff, sometimes it causes psychologically trauma and there. Because I can remember quite a lot, but I'm not really going to really go expand. But
Mm.
I would just share in my experience with the church was that they were not helping at some point, especially in Sunday school. I felt prejudice at 10 or 11 years old. I felt prejudice, but I didn't know how to deal with it. I felt like there was racism going around. I felt segregation because this Sunday school teacher, to me, sorry to say, he was being a bit of an idiot.
Mm.
Because, like, if you're talking about the Bible, then be about it. Then don't talk about the Bible and you're not going to be about the Bible. It's simple. Because if you're talking about Jesus loves you and you're going to say this, then then let them see the Jesus you're talking
In
about.
you, exactly.
Let them see it. Then there may be people who are not Christians, but I'm just saying, shame from my own experience. So, because okay, for example, if you have families and you're not accepting your child, then it's better for you to say, if you don't take my child, whether it be him or her, then don't even bother being our friend. Because
Yes.
what mom and dad took
Mm.
was the bullying. They
Mm.
took the criticism for me. They got abused for me being autistic in the church. They took the
Mm.
crap for me.
Mm.
They took it right for me. It's like somebody stabbed them in the arm
Mm.
or
Mm.
stabbed them in the heart.
Mm.
They really when that experience took place, mom find it very hard to let me go home to other people.
Yes.
It was very, very horrible.
Yeah.
And it was very, I'm telling you the truth. And
Yes.
when they said this last year or 2 years ago to someone, I was saying to myself, you see, places of worship, don't think that everything is clean like
Yes.
that, because you have to practice what you've been taught. If you're not practicing what you've taught, there's no point for you talking about your religion.
No.
So there's no point because at times what I can't understand is, if you're not going to be about what you've been taught, then don't go on the streets trying to proclaim, you're innocent, or you're trying to put up the image of your religion, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm saying, in this matter, I believe love is the answer.
Yes.
Because if you look at the white people, they are number one in dealing with autistic people,
Yes.
especially America.
Yes.
Because I'm telling you the truth, America hasn't got no shame. Neither UK, neither Scotland or Republic of Ireland or
Mm.
Wales. They've got no shame. So the thing is, it's the black minority has got too much stigmatizing fear mentality. And,
Especially Nigerian and Sierra Leonean community.
and
Uh,
even Ghanaians on other
yes.
some places that
Mm-hmm.
you want to talk about, or even Europe majority, or Asia. So it's not just Africa alone, Pastor.
Yeah.
So that the other areas, they need to be taught to. They need to stop this whole, oh, my son is gonna bring the shame, or my daughter's gonna bring shame. I'm like, just shut up for a second.
Yes.
He's not hurting you. Look, I've met some families that have got children on the autistic spectrum. Sometimes I tell the parents, leave your kids alone. You don't need to change them in order to be accepted in your culture standards.
Yes.
That was where the mistake that my dad and mom should have done a long time ago, is to let me be me, not try to change me because, oh, I just want to be, just because everybody wants to accept me. And my mistake was I was playing into the fiddle rather than asking myself a question. Can you stand up and be the real you and stop trying to fake or trying to cover, thinking that, thinking that, oh, yeah, 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 they just like you because, okay, if you don't talk, the thing is, I'm an extroverted person.
Mm.
But what I didn't know was that I was talking too much. But majority was that, yeah, I had to study my traits. I didn't know where my traits belonged to.
Mm-hmm.
So I was not an introverted, I was an extroverted. So it's not my fault that I'm extroverted, because I said to my dad some years back, you can't change your traits.
No.
You can't change who you are.
No.
Because if you're going to try and change who you are, you can't really, it will not work. You can't really say, okay, just because, okay, this person doesn't like me talk too much, I've got to change. No, you are being fake.
Mm.
You're not being real. You're not being true to yourself. And that's probably why a lot of this hiding, all those hiding games, or just pretending to be like, okay, you want to be on the person's good side or their good book so they can like you. I was playing those sort of games for so long until the truth said, can you stop doing that? I was not listening, but it took me some faith and courage and faith and confidence to say, look, if the African community doesn't embrace you, look here, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
Stop trying to change. And years ago, I never knew I had a sensory.
Mm.
I never knew I had a sensory. Nobody knew, because nobody knew I had an affectionate heart. Nobody knew I'm a very cuddling person.
Yes.
That is just the truth. But Pastor, you don't know, but
Mm.
I'm confessing. So
Yes.
if I come to you and cuddle you, it doesn't mean I'm gonna do something horrible to you or do something that might trigger to sexual thoughts or anything. My thought is that I've got a very affectionate heart. That's just the truth, because I'm attracted to people. It's like I'm drawn to people, etc., etc. So that is where the whole understanding needs to come to, because I'm not saying that cuddling is not a bad thing, but it's the culture wise that is making it very hard to understand. So that is where the whole understanding needed to come through, because then, as being non-verbal, oh God, that one was like difficult transition. It
Mm.
was a tough transition. I'm telling you, especially with being around my family who's got zero knowledge. That was so tough. Because when you're tough, sometimes you get hyperactive, you jump, you do this, you do that. And in this case, it caused mom grief and this and that. But it got to the point where I couldn't stay seated for longer, especially, when where my school was. The school was not too close to my home. My school was further away from home. It was in a place called town called Bun-kamara, and it's near London Bridge area. Some people who don't really know where London Bridge is, it's in UK majority. It's a town. It's not a city. It's just a town. You know, it's in London. It's in the southeast area. That time, the school bus was really finding it hard to keep me still, and they called my mom and said they can't, it is dangerous for me to be on the bus and then moving. So they decided to put me in taxi. So, which was another alternative, because that time I was having troubles of sitting still. So, which is not the fault. Then I think some years later, I think I started to chill out and stay calm. That was when they let me back on the school bus as well with the other children, and etc. etc. Me, despite me not being verbal, they let me back on, and which was kind of relief for me as well. I would say that again, we have to look at it from that honesty, because then they were not, I mean, the driver himself was not really aware. I think he was aware or not aware that I was going through those challenges, especially when I'm home at night. Sometimes I'll make noise, I'll just do stupid stuff. There was a point my next door neighbor came in, he banged on the door, and he was abusing, he was swearing at my mom at some point, to say, what kind of stupid child is this? What kind of a nonsense child is that? I don't know what he said to my mom. And my mom really just acted like in mercy and say, please, please don't hurt, don't do this, don't do that. It's like she was begging for her life. And she was telling the neighbors, my son is autistic, etc., etc. So they now came down and they now understood that my challenges were very, 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 very my challenges were beyond control. So in that area, their next door neighbors got to understood, about that kind of challenge. And after, because that was when I was still nonverbal, the time I became verbal is when I was 5 or 6. We did the two. So as soon as I started becoming verbal, that kick starts life and hope into mom and dad. And that turned into a testimony majority. But it wasn't going to be enough of me being verbal, because back at school, it's something that really happened that just changed everything. Was that a silly boy that just pushed me over, trying to get me kicked out of school. I fell on my teacher, and they were making it up that I kicked her, which was not true, because I don't kick teachers in the face like that. But if I did, then that would be a different story. But I'm not wicked, but it's just a silly guy that just tried to frame me up or lie or try to give me a bad name. Then my head teacher heard about it. He took it with exceptions. He grabbed my arm, and then he tried to pull the cupboards down over me so I can't breathe, which was a serious matter. Fortunately, I had the strength to speak up and say what he did was not right. But if I didn't and I allowed him, he could have raped me in that school. Do you understand?
Yes.
So he could have raped me, because then, funny enough, I spoke up and said what he did was right. Then my school got questioned. Now they were trying to make up their own things, saying I was behaving inappropriately, etc., etc., etc. And then etc., etc. Or they were trying to, then this went into court battle. So the whole matter went to court. I wasn't there, but they just took, the whole matters to court as well. So it was really, 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 really a big thing. It was really, really, really a tough thing. But eventually, I was moved to a mainstream school that had no support system as well. Mom wanted me to try, but mom insisted, but things backfired later. It was a Church of England school I ended up going, but the Church of England school didn't have the autistic support in place, which is so sad. If they did, then I would have lasted longer, in that school majority. But unfortunately, I only lasted for months. And then after some time, then I went back to my primary school in 1996, which was it March or April? I think. I think it was March or April. I think that was the time I went, and then later I ended up, ending up with this teacher that was so nice, and she was even better than the other ones. Than the people that I knew before they left as well. So they left before me. So I think, those people that I knew before they left, and some people I knew who I remembered. There was a guy that pushed me over. I forgave him at some point. I didn't really have any ill or grudges towards him. I didn't really have that. But I think that trauma was still there, but
Mm.
was still there, I suppose. Then eventually, back at church, times, I felt like I wasn't really loved enough. But some people claiming to say that they loved me enough, but I didn't really believe whether it was true or not. And when I remember when my family friend was like an auntie, spoke to me 3 years ago, she told me the truth. What what happened in Sunday school. She opened my eyes to say that if somebody if somebody's talking about the Bible, like I mentioned before, it might be
Mm.
horrible to you. So my eyes now opened up and said, you know what? It was even better that, it was even better that that person was not attached to you, because he would have done more worse,
Mm.
or even worse at all. I just felt like being in places of worship was not that great as well, because it was going to keep on going. The rejection
Mm.
was going to follow me in terms of place of worship as well. It was really bad, and it was ongoing until when my dad and mom had their own church. Then things started to
Change.
change, and then when I went to secondary school as well, things were different than primary school, because then it took me time to settle into the system. But their support system was even better. I mean, compared to when I was a young child, I was not really a fan of eating foods. I was just a fan of eating something mashy so I can just transfer. But then later, then I had to upgrade to eating there and there and there. If you ask me, what food was I not used to? Cheese, ham, eggs, all that stuff I was not used to. But I think later they were steps, you understand, that you had to get into. Because if you ask me, was I into eating cheese, then the answer was yes. Later, when I was maybe 8 or 9, when it was on pizzas, eggs came later, around 11 or
Mm.
12, or either one of them, I can't remember now. But, you know, yeah, because then I became a fan of egg sandwiches at 12 years old, at that time. So I was a big fan of music as well. I grew up in music as well.
Mm.
And I was really, really a fan of technology as well. Fan of watching football, fan of, you know, doing all sorts of other things. I'm a big fan of electronics and everything. I was a fan of those kind of things, And since then, I've really, really have came from a long place. And, and I would, if anyone was asking, was I bullied? Yes, I faced bullies as well. It wasn't just at school that bullies occurred. I even faced bullies at church as well, but I didn't know how to deal with it because I didn't really see it. So that was probably why, if you see somebody that's bullying a child, quickly get in the act, whether it be at school, place, or place of worship, get in the act. Because if you don't get in the act, they'll keep doing it, and then your child will feel traumatized. Because
Mm.
I was watching this film, Woman That Art Loose. I can't remember, I'm not sure if if anybody knows that film. It was this
Mm.
girl that was being traumatized by her past. So eventually she shot her uncle, in the church, due to anger and frustration.
Anger. Yeah.
So it was like me that came from that sort of cycle, that we had no support, no trust or anything. I just felt like it was really like there, because then I had my first taste of being suspended from school.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like the reason why I got suspended from school, it was due to framing people up. I don't know. I did it in revenge,
Mm.
because I felt like I didn't deal with that trauma that I suffered in primary school. I didn't really handle it, because I was thinking, okay, then since I got it, now let me do it to those people who didn't deserve. So, which was very bad of me, and I really felt so bad. And now going to 17 years old, as time progressed, I became independent gradually, and then somehow, somewhere, I was just trying to explore life alone, and and things like that. As soon as that happened, I got into a relationship at 16 years old. Even though I was a bit immature at the time, I didn't really have that experience. I didn't really give that space to mature properly and be groomed properly, and how to deal with them properly, and know how to handle them. It was just like I was just going, hey, AY. And if you got to know, the whole thing is that I was just trying to find the real me. I mean, because finding real me is not easy, especially when you're born into African cycle. You just want to grow, want to find room. But if I talk about finding real me, I had some talents in that transition, because I never went to music school to learn stuff like drumming and keyboard. They became my natural gift. Even playing by ear became its natural gift as well. So it's all started when I was 13 and 12. And to this day, I've still got those musical gifts in me, I think.
You have.
So in the aspect of that, I still use it. But for me, there was a church I wanted to go to. They were not helping me. So it was causing more discouragement. And it was really bad. And it got to the point I became bitter. I became very angry. I became so hurt and things like that. And that time when I felt abused, or I felt a bit, I was not really myself. I felt a little bit, what's it called? I felt depression was pouring into me at an early age, and I was thinking of death.
Mm.
I was thinking of death. So sorry, but I have to be transparent.
Yeah.
I was thinking of either cutting my wrist. I was thinking of strangling myself to death, or taking or overdosing to death. So probably the first time I tried to overdose was 24 years old. Now it's something I'm not happy about.
No.
It's something I'm not proud about. And it's something that I wouldn't encourage anyone to do. But what I didn't realize, my mental state of mind was compromised. It was compromised. It was overwhelmed. And I didn't know I was suffering from a mental breakdown. I didn't have the strength to open. I didn't want to follow anyone to church. I just wanted to be on my own,
Mm.
and just heal, because I didn't want to. But then I turned to pornography for a bit, so I could ease off that pain, so I could ease off something. But it was very bad. I must admit, it was very, very admittable. But I know it's sad, on I'm trying not to break down on the camera though, people, because the things I share, It's not like I'm trying, it's not that, it's not for you to stand evil or whatever. I'm being honest because look, I can call myself a believer, yes, but it doesn't mean we're going through a lot in our lives.
Mm,
We're
mm,
facing
mm,
the
mm,
cycle, the
mm.
trauma. It doesn't mean I can pray, I can sing in the Holy Ghost there and there
Oh
and there.
yeah.
That's not the thing, and that's not the truth,
No.
because I have been in a place where rejection has, like, it started when I was younger, and it's even ongoing as well. So it's looking like you're going from that circle, ay. You get the point.
Yeah.
So in the space of excuse me, I beg your pardon. Yeah, sorry about that.
Sorry.
um I think it's just more of, do you understand where one is coming at?
Mm,
Do you have understand? Because that was forcing me to go to church, which I was not in the right frame of mind. Yeah, I was not in the right frame of mind. That was just the thing.
yes.
And when you're not in the right frame of mind, it's not their fault.
Mm-mm.
It's because at times you will just use it to blame you, or something like that. But then again, it was not my fault because I wanted space. And if anything goes wrong, that can affect me psychologically. But
Yes.
if you ask me how many times have I been in that suicide thing, it's twice. You know, the second one happened when my heart was broken by someone. But clearly, I was not thinking straight at all that this person was a user, or this person was an asshole, or whatever it's sorry to say. Um, Sorry to say that. But the truth was, she was hiding something from me. And it got to the point that the truth had to be told. It broke
Mm,
my heart, but the person was not coming clean. I was not saying the truth as it was, because you were just hiding it from me and thinking that, oh, okay, just because you want to hide. So, and then in the end, I just felt like my name got messed up again.
mm,
It got messed up again, and it really messed it up. But then my fault was I should have left. Number one, I should have left it a long time ago when I should have done, because that person was not being truthful at all. And to cut long story short, it affected me psychologically. I felt rejection was pouring into me. And I wanted to go into a relationship so badly, but the turn down was so bad. I was saying to myself, what's wrong with me? Is no anybody going to be accepting me? So the problem was, I was just trying to get into a relationship as well. But then again, I was so angry when people were, sometimes I used to be bitter, I used to be jealous, I used to think of death, I used to think of there and there and there. It was very bad. I'm telling you, it must have been a very tough time, because that
mm,
time it was bedtime and everybody was sleeping. That was when I was attempting suicide, when everyone's in bed.
mm.
That was very bad thing, I must admit. I personally regret for trying to do it when my family was sleeping as well. And I was battling with some depressions that time. And I was even close of doing it again in 2017,
Mm.
you know.
But
So
you've come a long way now, though, Chris. So all of this is by the grace of God behind you, because you've come a very long way and you are helping loads and loads and loads of families, African families, families who are experiencing the same traumas and the same things that you have gone through with autism. Your book is about to come out, and you have your support groups for autistic parents and families. Every is it every Wednesday you have that?
it's gonna be it's every month, but the second one, in fact, what I would say to you, Pastor Jane, is that send the next flyer to every Sierra Leoneans, yeah,
Yes.
because they will get to know more about, what's next step to come. Because there was a lady that I interviewed, what's her name, LC Rogers. She's
Yes.
coming again next month for August, because she's going to
Yes.
be talking about putting support systems into place, and etc., 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 because we really need to know how those things work. And before you just came in, yes, I was just like, it wasn't just going to end there. There was going to be more, because like a lot of pressure. Then I had some strength to fight for my own independence as well, because sometimes I feel like I haven't got the full control, and I haven't got the full what's it called, that full like trust. So it was like I had to fight for myself, and you know thank God I really got to where I needed to. And if you ask me, if I was to tell everybody that when it comes to bullying, I've watched the film that this young girl was bullied at school, and little did I know she strangled herself to death
Oh my
in
God.
her room. She was hanging herself to death, and that was telling me, please don't bully nobody, because you don't know what bully is gonna lead to people
Mm-hmm.
to. It can lead people to death. It
Mm-hmm.
can lead them to depression. It can lead them to personal suicide. So if we bully the autistic people, etc., etc., they will not tell you they want to die. They will
Yeah.
not say it. But in their head, they will want to think of death. If the
Yes.
trauma is too high, they will think of death.
Yes.
So they will not say it in your face. They will not want to say, oh, we want to do this, we want to do that. But they are going to be thinking of like, all right, let me wipe myself out, and that's just the thing. But I encourage every single communities to please don't bully your child. Please
Especially in
don't.
the church. Especially
Churches,
in the
yeah,
church.
churches, anywhere, please don't bully. It is not the way forward. If you think that bullying is the way forward, or you think that, okay, just because you know more than him or her, then I'm sorry to say it, that you're a bully. Because I don't like bullies at all. I can't stand bullies, because bully is for me, it's unacceptable, because I don't like you bully this autistic child. He's not his fault. He likes to jump. If he or she can't stay longer, then you got to take it into consideration. Because and if you can't take it into consideration, you are the problem, not them.
Yes.
So they used to think I was the problem, but in reality, I wasn't the problem.
Yes.
But in reality, the people around me were the problem.
Mm-hmm.
They were the problem. They were not. I was not the problem, because, like I said before, when there's no knowledge, then what? So, if you're not going to acknowledge it, then something's wrong. Then
Yeah.
you parents of autistic children or autistic adults are going to have the major problem. And the only way for you to resolve it, if you wake up and do something about it, and do early intervention, because early intervention is the way forward. If you leave it too late, you're on your own. No pastors, nobody can help you out, because you did not take advice and do early intervention. Because if you
Yeah.
smell, for example, if you smell smoke of fire breaking out, you will not sit down there until you die. You get out or call for help. So it's the same thing. If you're going to be teaching, if you have autistic people, beg your pardon, always react quickly. Get help. If you see trace or signs, get help immediately, no matter where you are living, whether in UK, States of America, or Sierra Leone, anywhere you live, get for help. Stop panicking. Panicking
Mm.
is not what I will encourage you to do. Get help and get advice from the right people. If the people have little knowledge about autism, please don't ask such, because if anything goes wrong, then you are going to be the one to blame for. Lastly, or not least, sorry if I've overeaten the time. Lastly and not least is to please be more vocal,
Mm-hmm.
because when you're vocal, they will now know what to do. And also be understandable, because some of your child's skin may be sensitive. He or she may not like you touching or whatever. He or she may not like eating nuts or this and that. So you have to be very understandable and be caterable. Because if not, you're just going to make it very difficult for them. So I would say in this matter is to please be more understandable and also be considerate when they need time out. It's taking time out in church or anywhere is not going to harm you. It's not you, it's them. So taking time out is not a big problem. So I would say is that, you know, autism is not a problem. To me, I've seen scientists who are autistic are doing well. I've seen in people who are inventing great things that make that doing great things. Like for example, Henry Ford,
Henry.
person who the person what's her name? Susan Boyle, the singer. I'm
Yeah.
not sure who went on Britain's Got Talent. She's
Oh, that's a few
autistic.
years ago now. She's
Yeah,
autistic. Oh, I didn't know
yeah.
that.
And there's a lady called who's on the Chase is Anne Hegarty. She's autistic as well. So you've seen celebrities who are on the autistic spectrum. They're doing very well.
Very well.
And you know why? It's because they've got the support
Support
system
system.
continually. And
Yes.
when you're saying support system, it's not one-off.
No.
It's ongoing. Support
Yeah.
systems can be in church and can be at home. So if that is installed in place, life becomes very, very, very easy. I'm telling you. And I also do Autism Survivor Champions. So to leave that one out. Every year in April is Autism Awareness Month. That's when I focus more on that area.
Yes.
And I run seminars from my church and so etc. But this year I've done 5 seminars within a space of a month. It was daunting, but me flying to Manchester, it was hell. But at the same time, I had to run back down to London, so it was just like touch and go. So next year, you know, when the new dates will come, Pastor Jane Kumar will send it out. It's for those who live in UK as well.
Yes.
So it's those who live in UK, you will get the invitation. The Zoom one, I'm going to see if we can get some to be broadcast live in, from my church as well. And if possible, maybe your church in Guildford, your church
Hey,
in
in
Redwood,
Croydon.
in
Croydon.
your Croydon area, or
Mhm.
things like that.
Yeah.
We're going to try and broadcast it from next year, because next year it's going to be twice a year, so it's really sure to that. And I'm looking forward to going places like Syria, America. I don't know, like you said, I'm not going to mention the dates for now, because there
Yeah.
are quite a lot of things to iron out, which is the
Yes.
book publishing and etc etc etc. But for me, I am not ashamed to say this, because I'm me. I love myself. I am not ashamed to say that me, I've been on the autistic spectrum. It's not a problem, because we can thrive, we can make a difference. As long
Yes.
as we've got the right support, as long as we've got the right love, the right courage, we've got, we got nothing to lose at the end of the day. We are not our failures, we are not our downfall, we are not idiots, we are not imbeciles, we are not retarded, we are not,
Oh,
we are not all those things. We are not our downfall. We are just created in God's eyes maturity. God is not a failure,
no.
because, you see, Moses in the Bible, he had speech impediment, but God used him. So I said to myself that, look, God can use anyone. He doesn't have to
Anyone.
be super fantastical person. I'll give you one more before you can say anything, or you pass it on to anyone.
Yes.
That I was watching this white blind autistic boy on YouTube or Facebook. Somebody posted, he was just singing God's praises. It was like, what? And he got the support, and my mind was saying, what's your excuse? What exactly is the problem? And what exactly is your excuse? Because if you don't have any reasons, then it's better for you to stop making excuse. Look, he was not complaining that his eye was taken away. He was just singing God's praises. He was guided because he couldn't see where he was going. He had to have a stick. I think he was blind. Yeah, I think he was 7 years old, I think. And yet he really put on a great performance. And I now said to myself, you've got to now step up to in convincing people that autistic people are not the problem.
No.
They are not the problem. The African communities need to get out of this stigmatizing, get out of this the segregation mentality, get out of this racism mentality, get out of this, okay, let's bully people to death. No, I'll say it for the final time, we are not our faults. We are not sad. We're not fools. We just need love, like Christ said. That is all I can speak for the autistic people. If Martin Luther King was there, I would have had a word with him and say, we need to do something so it can break this whole thing that's affecting the autistic people, because most autistic people need is financial support. They
Yes.
need to eat the right food as well, which is non-gluten free. If it's for those who are in UK, you can purchase non-gluten free food because they will make a difference. You know, they do. They really work out. And personally, when it comes to dealing with a severe autistic person, your job is to take sweets, take things that are not gluten free, because they will trigger the hyper. And when it comes to medication, if I wanted to add more, is that please get clarity before you give your child, because if something goes wrong, there's side effects in it. So at times they want to do things that want to damage her, because spoke to her mom, and she said her son broke her family's door when he didn't get his way. He's big, he's strong, he's damaged every door in the house. So you can see it's because of the impact of the medication that you give to your child. I was going to go on medication. If mom did that, that would have messed up my life.
Yes.
That could have ruined everything. And mom would have lived to regret for the rest of her life. But having said that, I'm really thankful that my transition was not the pain. But what I would say online is that I forgive the African communities because they didn't really know. Because all of this was all of this was a preparation for my destiny. All of it was just to push me forward. But I would say to every single person out there, don't be like my church and let the moments slip away. Don't be like my school that regretted horribly and let that moment affect those special needs people, because they are signs and wonders, to be sincere with you. They are really God's wonderful creation. And if I was in Syrian right now, I will stand up and say the truth as it is. So I think that's where I'm going to hand it over to you, Pastor Jane, if there's anybody else wants to ask me questions from there.
Oh my God, Chris. I've got pastors on here who have, and I've got at least 4 or 5 pastors here watching. Before I ask any question, I'm gonna ask you to please let us speak to the pastors, to the ministry leaders, to the ones who are serving in the church. How can we bring autism friendly community in our church? Because like you rightly said, most of the abuse that really took place, like one of the brothers in the church was the one that took you away and gave you some good old beating in the church. Now in the church, some of our church members, they are not trained, or we are not educated in terms of sensory impairment when it with autism, in terms of lightning, in terms of audible,
noise,
in terms of when they get very agitated and get overly happy, how do we treat them? And some mothers give dirty looks. Some people tell you, train your child. Some people give all sorts of nasty comments and look
Yeah,
at your
but the
child as
thing is, it's
exactly.
not. Yeah, I guess. Sorry, before you carry on. Look, the thing is, they can't tell you to train your child. They can't tell you that. Sorry to say,
Mm-hmm.
because your child is not. It's not his fault. So if it's not his fault, then what do you expect the parent to do? You can't expect them to say. You can't expect them to just do it anyhow. Because what if you do something wrong? Then they're not going to regret it. So yes, of course, we are not. It's not our fault, and I will keep saying it again. So, what was you going to say about some pastors want to ask me questions or what?
No, I was trying to say how some pastors are here watching. They have
Mhm,
churches. Some of them have churches up to 100 members, 200 members, 300
mhm,
members, and the community is big. Some of them have members up to maybe 20, 30. It's a community.
mhm,
At least some of their members or maybe families who are visiting the church or maybe visitors may have some kind of autism spectrum.
mhm.
How can we prepare our faith community in terms of
Right.
educating our community to say these children are autistic, or even some of the adults can be autistic? How can we
Mhm.
treat them so that they feel part of the community? They don't go away feeling, oh my God, they just rejected me.
Right. They need to have more awareness going on in churches. They need to have awareness so that they are so they are aware of how they deal with them and how you handle them. So if a church can create a space to promote more awareness, then they will know there'll be no need to feel like, oh my God, and this and that. So they need more awareness. They need it more. It's not about just one thing. They need to promote it more or go to seminars if one is doing it. So at least they will gain more knowledge. That's my advice I would give. So if churches can promote more awareness on months or every single year, that will help the church to put more understanding, put more support system in place. Should a child be on the spectrum comes in, they'll be able to handle it and deal with it in a professional manner.
Wow. So, like, I was reading an article before I came on here yesterday. I was reading an article, and this afternoon, I was reviewing the article. And one of the things I saw on there, this particular church, they bought the headphones for sensory. When the praise and worship is going on, if the music is too loud, they would take headphones and hand it over to the parents who have children on the spectrum, and so that they can put it over their ears so that they don't get disturbed. And one of the other things that they did was to dim the light or have a separate room, like what Helen is saying. Have a separate room, have somebody who's trained to be with those kind of autistic, trained or understanding them a little bit more. Take them to a separate room and somebody stays with them. So these are just some of the things that churches need to be aware of. Please, there are parents who are going through really bad struggles. A
They are.
parents contacted me. Their child is, just seeing the flyer, their child is autistic, and this has stopped them from going to work. This has stopped them because no childminder will obviously have the child because badly autistic on the high spectrum, and it is causing so much anxiety, it's causing so much financial problem, it's causing so much anxiety even within the family. She feels rejection, like what you said, Brother Prince, is a top of the board. Rejection within the society, within the community. If she goes out to shopping and this child will be on the floor, everybody in the Tesco will be looking at her, and she is really struggling in how to really put herself together. And I was saying
Right.
it is really okay it's okay to feel like that, but at the same time you have to pay attention. Your child is now giving you the signals. Give yourself time and space to understand the signals your child is sending to you.
Mm,
Give them the right support. There are supports out there. If
mm,
you are living in certain countries like in America, in the US, there are support out there.
mm.
Sadly, Sierra Leone, there's not much support out there for
No.
parents. And hence the reason why myself and Chris, we're going to go to Sierra Leone and raise this awareness in churches, in communities, for
Mm,
people to be aware that autism, it's not
mm,
a sentence. People can go through it and come out of it. Chris is a living testimony, so
mm,
can your child be too.
mm,
So in what I'm trying now to explain to the parents, those parents who are having, or what I want you, Chris, to just help the parents a little bit. We have few parents here who are going through that.
mm.
Few parents out here whose children may be on a high spectrum, maybe they're sensory, they're not able to sit still, the loud
Right.
noises and all that.
Right.
What are some of the advice would you give to
I
parents?
would say don't fuck it. For parents, hear me out, please.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be selfish, because the more selfish you become, the more difficult you will make for your child. When your child cannot stay for long, don't ignore it. Don't be arrogant. Just walk somewhere with your child. Just walk somewhere. Secondly, find a support system,
Mm.
because support system is super vital. For
Mm-hmm.
example, when my family couldn't do a lot, they had to train people, or they had to speak to people in order to handle me very well. So your job is to have support systems. Those who are in UK now, I'm not talking about stuff Sierra Leone.
Mm.
Those who are not, I'm not talking about Africa. I'm talking about those who are in UK. Please, please, please get a financial support for your child. Get the financial support, because there's personal independent plan, disability, living allowance, all that. Most of these things you can go on websites and view and apply for them, but make sure you're not using it because you want to gain your own selfish advantage. No,
Mm.
but use it in order to support your child. Yeah. And there's freedom pass for people who are on the autistic spectrum, but depending on which London borough you belong to. So make sure, if you live in boroughs like Southwark, speak to Southwark. If it's Lambeth, you speak to Lambeth. If it's Greenwich, speak to Greenwich. If it's Wandsworth Borough or anywhere else, Westminster Borough, please speak to them, because they are very used to free travel. You understand? So these are very vital. Last but not least is be more vocal. The more vocal you get, the more people will listen. But the little vocal you will be, the harder it gets. So please be more vocal when dealing with those people.
Absolutely. The more vocal, if you keep quiet on a lot of things that your child may be suffering with, you will not be able to get the help you need.
Mm,
Having said that, Elizabeth is in Sierra Leone and she's got, I'm sure she's got a few people in her place there watching.
mm,
Um, Now there may be families down there in Sierra Leone. I think she's worked with some charities in Sierra Leone before that deals with autism, although it's not really that much. I mean, some people have set up charities for autism there, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not sure how effective it is. But one of the things
mm,
that I'm trying to get at is in countries like Sierra Leone, all of this help that we have access to some of these things here. Some families have access to some of these things in United Kingdom, Holland, any part of Europe or your United States. But in a place like Africa, oh my God, lots and lots of parents have been stigmatized.
Mm-hmm.
Lots and lots of parents have been called names because their child is autistic.
Mm-hmm.
All of this help they haven't got access to. But we can, there are practical things that we could give them as they are listening to this that can
Mm-hmm.
really help them in managing the symptoms that their children may be presenting. One of the things I had Elsie said in one of your support groups on Wednesday past, Elsie said something about music therapy,
Yes.
that her child was really autistic, or is really autistic, but and very on the spectrum where he can't sit still. But music therapy helped to bring out the calmness in this young man. And
Mm,
there are lots of musicians in Africa.
mm,
So how can we advise parents? It may not be music therapy. It may be some of our families as well. They are hydrophobic. We're scared of water. Anything to do with
mm,
water is like a no-go area, but this could be one of the very calming therapies for autistic kids.
right. I would say musical therapy is number one. Number two, arts and crafts is another therapy. So you can like draw, cut, because they will laugh. Or third, cooking.
Yes.
These three things I've mentioned, they
Yeah.
are the top relaxing areas, that your child can engage in. But when it comes to cooking, mind you, please don't be too hesitant. Don't put your child under pressure. Be slow with him or her. When I was in secondary school, we had food technology and we got a support system. There was a boy in my class, he needed help himself. There were some things that couldn't do. He had to help him out. So you get the point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
So you have to help out and just do the things. So eventually, you have to be very supportive in a way you can. Because yes, it's not easy, but you just have to. In some ways that you can do, or some ways that you can really give, that will make a difference to your child. Yes. So these things I've mentioned before, they are therapy to your child. And if you can practice in making the basic foods, like say, for example, cakes, biscuits, things like that, chocolate chip cookies, those things like soups and all that stuff. They just need to know what to do, need to be guided what to do. Or some like doing laundries as well, guide them what to do, etc. etc. It all takes guidance at the end of the day.
Yeah. Oh my God. So I've got so many comments. I don't even know which one to start with. There's so many people are saying so many things, Chris. And you've got some fans in the house. A lot of people are waiting for your book, Can I Be Me? And that's coming out. Is it later in the year, Chris?
Yeah, it should be out later in the year or early 2024.
Early 2024. So watch the space for Chris's book, Can I Be Me?
Mhm.
What's a powerful, but I can't wait the story. I think this is just a tip of the iceberg of what he's
I
giving us.
can I can I can really elaborate a little bit, but I'm not going to go into full detail. So
No, don't, because we're
I
gonna
can
buy
I
the
can
book.
I can tell this person little. What you will get is the honesty
Yes,
about me and get the reality. It talks about my achievements, talks about my success, it talks about my faith in God and everything like that, talks about so many things that you can ping pong down. But at the end of the day, you have to um, read it slowly. It's not something that you read fast, you know. It's an autobiography.
absolutely.
So with that, you study it just slowly, and you take your time. It's not running a race. It's
No.
just knowing how you deal with those stuff. So I think that's just the truth about my book, and as well, it will be online as well, it'll be on Amazon,
Yeah.
later. So, there are ways to get the book as well. So, yeah.
Is there any question that you have for Chris tonight? Please put it in the comment because
Or
we're
you
gonna,
could probably Prince or Chris, I don't mind. Anyone.
yes. Or I'm gonna I will share out the link to Chris's monthly support groups that he normally has each month for autistic families. So please, if you are here, you need support, wherever you are, other parents who are going through the same problem, join this group, and you'll be surprised what tips that you can hear. He normally brings on doctors, he normally brings on survivors, he normally brings on different people. They talk about everything from what you can give the child, to what experience, to what advice they can give you, and how you can incorporate this with your children who are going through the same thing within the spectrum, and it helps you for you to feel confident that you are not alone in whatever journey that you may be going through with your autistic children. But unfortunately, okay, let's read some comment, Chris, and then we're gonna just 10 minutes, and then we're gonna call it.
Mhm.
She says stories. If you're going to do something new, oh, okay. Helen is just explaining some of the things that um parents should do for the children. If you have any question or anything to say to Chris, please type it in the comment below. But just before we do that, Chris, you have come a very, very long way. I will just wait for people to write their comments, and let me say this. You have come a very, very long way. On Saturday, I ministered alongside yourself, and
Mm.
I was amazed at the way you were ministering. Oh my God. You the way you were playing that keyboard, I was like, ooh. Very, very powerful.
I've been
Very,
doing
very,
it for long. I've been doing
for
it
a
for about
long, long time.
22 years.
22 years.
Yeah.
He is so good in the music industry. Oh my God.
Yes. And I
Very, very,
forgot
very.
to mention, I do private keyboard teaching as well. So I will send my flyer to you. So
Yes.
if anybody in UK wants to be taught keys, yeah, tell them to get in touch with me. So
Yeah.
if they get in touch with me, the merrier it grows. Because at the moment, I'm trying to kickstart it again, so that I mean, before, like, if it was, it used to be £30 per hour, but I've
Mm-hmm.
dropped £30 per hour, you know, because I want to build more, like by making it 25 an hour, so that at least I can have something to keep going. So when the business gets bigger, then later we can shift it in its gradual stages. So I think that is what I'm going to send you two things: the musical tutoring, those are in UK, and the next one for August
Mm-hmm.
will be the same time, with LC Rogers as well, and anybody can watch it live. If you're from Sierra Leone, you can watch it live. But then again, we just have to look at the time. I mean, the time is the same. Is the time the same as UK Sierra Leone, or is it
I think it's an hour. It's an hour back.
behind?
Yeah.
Or is it hour behind?
Yeah.
So Sierra Leone's time will be 7:30 then.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because if it's behind, it's seven. It's the same time as Ghana. Ghana's
Okay.
time will be 7:30 p.m. because it will be the same time because we are the same time as Nigeria.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but when we change, when we go forward in October, let's say October time, that's when we'll be the same time as Sierra Leone and Ghana. Then
Yes.
Nigeria will be ahead of us because Nigeria's time will be ahead. So yeah, that's just the truth.
Yes.
Mhm.
So, in regards to us hearing you speak, there are lots of parents here as well whose children are on the autistic spectrum. Some of them are wondering, God, what do I do with this child? What's gonna become of my child?
Mm.
Now, there's a testimony right in front of you. God has a plan for these children, and nobody is going to put a label on your child.
Mm.
If God can take Chris out of that, and now look at him now training parents, giving awareness to parents. If God can do that, he can do the same for you. He's not a respecter of person. So be encouraged, parents.
Mm.
Get the help that you need in order to help your children in whatever spectrum that they may find themselves in. If you've learned anything from what we've said and here today, please comment down below. Please send us a message. If you need to speak to Chris personally in regards to getting any help, he gives advices to parents as well, personal advice to parents. Please get in contact with me or get in contact with him on his Facebook page, Prince Israel. He'll be able to get in contact with you. He'll be able to talk to you, give you the advices you need, and talk to you in regards to your children. What are you doing with them? Because another thing I found out about African parents, once the children are autistic, they do nothing with them. They don't go for no therapy. They just close them in the house, maybe from school to home. That's it. No, in
Mm.
order to get that child to full potential, get them involved in something. This is therapy for them. This is therapy for them. See what they want, get them involved, and you will get the best out of them. I'm
Mm.
so pleased, Chris, that you're here today. This is such an insight to so many parents. I can see the vibe in the room. So
Mm.
thank you so much for coming on here tonight.
Oh.
So please, please, ladies and gentlemen, you are so quiet for me today. What's wrong with you guys? Can we share some love for Chris in the house tonight?
Mm.
Can we share some love in the house tonight? It has been really, really, really good having you on here. Believe me, your life is such a testimony for so many people. Your life is such a testimony for so many people, and for my pastor friends, my minister friends, my sisters in the Lord, my brothers in the Lord, my brothers in the churches that you may be listening. Please, if your pastor is not here but you are here, please help us spread the word that you can go and be an advocate in your church to say, please, can we do more education? Can we do more education about autism within our community? If you want Chris to come and speak to that congregation, please get in contact with us, either myself or him. We can make the arrangements, and he can come and be an advocate to some of these children. Educate our pastors, our church members, to say that being autistic doesn't mean that they should exclude you. They should include you
Mm.
into whatever they are doing. So, Chris, Auntie Susan is saying, thank you. May God bless you. This
Mm.
is awesome.
Mm.
Auntie Titi saying, thank you so much.
Mm.
Oh my God, I got my big sister, my sis mama.
Mm.
My sis mama is in the house. You know, when my mom passed away, it's good to be a younger sister. My mom passed away, and I've got three beautiful elder sisters, and they treat myself and my baby sister like we're babies, and I like that. We got all the attention. So my sis mama is in the house. I love you. And she's saying, thank you, Chris. This is so amazing. And we are coming to Cardiff. She lives in Cardiff. We're coming to Cardiff. Yes.
Is that
We're
where they
going to
live?
Cardiff, right, Chris?
Right. What they have to do is like if they're inviting us, things
Yes.
like that. Then if they're inviting us, then that's fine because then again, because all they have to do is just get to me. Yes, then just take it from here. Whatever month they want us there, they just let me know. You know,
Hallelujah.
and we just
Chris,
take. But though again, when it comes to traveling, hotel costs, that one has to be ready to cover all of these things. So.
City is saying she has an autistic son, and I'm sure what you have said here today, Chris, you have helped at least Titi to
Mm.
understand the various ways in which the son is behaving, understand the spectrum that the son is, understand that she can do the best to bring the best out of her son.
Mm.
Do the best to bring the best out of her son. This is
Mm.
amazing. And most importantly, your life is a testimony that what God cannot do does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
From a non-verbal child to a verbal child.
Mm. I
So
think it's
now
because we've
speaking.
trusted God enough. That's why. And I think it's because, yeah, let me quickly summarize this and then we'll end it. You see,
Yes,
it was to do with mom's prayer, regardless,
yes,
And I think it wasn't just prayer, it was trust in
yes,
God and hoping for the right time. You see, everything has been done beautifully in his time
yes.
because everything is not on your time,
No.
everything is on God's timing. So I would say, you know, just let God be God and just do what God wants you to do. That is just my spiritual advice. Let God be God. It doesn't matter whether your son is on whichever levels on autistic. If he's on high functioning, just let God be God. If he's on low functioning, let God be God, because God is not is not racist.
No.
God is a God of lover,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one thing I love about God is because He doesn't really disown people. He doesn't puts people down or anything like that. Because if John 9:3 says Jesus said it's not the fault of this guy that was being born blind, but it's works of God being revealed through him. So
Yes,
I would say these are not the issue, are not the solution to be blaming. The solution is to trust God and let God do what He wants. Some people can speak at the age of 5, 6, or 7, or 8, or even 9 or 10. Doesn't matter.
yes.
God
No.
knows the timing, and when He knows when the timing's been set, then one of you will know how it's gonna be. It might
Yes.
didn't have to wait for long. It might came at 5 or 6 sometimes, but I could have spoke at 3 years old, but that's probably not the time yet.
No.
Probably time came at the right time. You have to know when the time's right, then you will know. Because if you try to force it or push it anyhow, then you're doing it at the wrong time. So it's better for you to wait for the right time and just trust God that your own child's miracle will come.
It
That's
will
it.
come. Will come. Oh my God. I mean, this is the second actual testimony I'm actually seeing with my eyes with children with autism, especially being on the extreme and non-verbal, to
Mm,
coming out to be fully verbal, living an independent life, living a full, fulfilling life. In
mm,
fact, being a music minister. To me, it just melts my heart. There
mm,
was a article I saw. I think it was a testimony of a young guy who his autism was so bad. They
mm,
told him he couldn't write, he couldn't speak till certain age, and now he became a lecturer. I think it was in Oxford or Cambridge University. When
mm,
I saw that testimony, I saw it. I think on Instagram I saw that. I couldn't stop
mm,
reading it. I just thought that indeed this is a testimony for so many mothers
mm,
who listening, and especially your mom being a prayerful person or your
mm,
parent being prayerful, to say that I am not giving up on my child. Your verdicts that you've given to my child,
mm.
it's not God's verdict. I
Mm,
believe in God's verdict towards the life of my child. And my child will not remain to be the way they are. They will go and they will fulfill their destiny. So, parents watching, believe that
mm,
your son and your daughters will come out of this, and they will.
mm.
And they will.
Yeah, they
Such
will.
a testimony. Such
Mm.
a testimony. So, Chris, you're going to pray us out tonight.
All right. Okay. All right, let's pray. Lord Jesus, we just thank you for those who have been watching and for those who are trusting God for a miracle. And I just pray, Lord, that you will just help every single moms and fathers to be trusting in you, because the scripture says, our trust is in your name who made heaven and earth. Lord, we just pray that you will just give every family, whether in United Kingdom or around the world, to give them hope and faith that you can do everything exceedingly and abundantly all that we can ask or think. And Lord, I'm just saying tonight that you will take over every single family who have autistic children. And I thank you, Lord, for the impact you've done for me over the years. And I can't stop thanking you enough, Father. I just thank you, Lord, and I just bless you. And I give you the praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen and amen. Chris, it has been a blessing for you to be here. I'm sure we will bring you back at some point. You know that, right? You can feel that coming, right?
No. To be honest, I don't really mind. I don't really mind if you bring me back or anything like that. Like I said, Cardiff
Yes.
is just God. Like you said, somebody wants to invite us in Cardiff. Like I said, they've got to make sure that they things like if it's church events, then like I said, my agent gets the heads up.
Yes.
So that my agent, so I have to let my agent know that we're getting an invitation, and then etc. So at
Yes.
least my agent would now say fine, as long as they are covering there and there, because like for that they will have to pay for traveling, hotels, and etc. Because then that comes to the figure, and it comes to transport as well,
Yes.
where it's going to be the feeding. So it comes to that area, because then again, it's building the whole thing. And yes, the church as well is not a bad idea. So I'll look forward to when that offer comes in.
Yes.
So at the moment now, I'm not traveling out of UK at the moment now, probably not till next year.
No.
Probably
Okay.
not till next year. So at least Cardiff can come in as long as they can come in between now or August or September, you're still, or even October, as long as the dates are not clashing.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. We'll plan something and we'll
I
and
mean,
make
the
sure that.
person has to let you know, and
Okay.
then you now pass it to me, and then I can say, okay, fine, this is it.
Okay. Wow.
All right
Wow.
then.
Wow. Wow. It has been really good being here tonight. And I believe that lives have been touched. People who are watching the rebroadcast, please send us a message. If you've been touched by this tonight, if you've been affected at any time, you need help, you need support, you are a parent, you are super exhausted, and you're probably not sleeping well, you don't know what to do, you're trying to contact the various boroughs or departments or whatever, wherever you are, and trying to seek for help and you haven't got help, please contact us. Contact Chris. He's an expert in this. He's been through it, so he knows the loopholes and things, not loopholes, he knows the right channels and things, how to advise you in regards to your children and you seeking help as well.
Mm.
And most importantly, educating the families,
Mm.
communities where you are, so they understand your child, that they are not devil, they are not evil. They're
Mm.
created by God like you were. Amazing, amazing. It's like we don't want to end tonight, but we have to
Yeah,
go.
you can end now. I don't really have anything
You
to
don't
say.
have any
I mean,
more.
I've said so much, but then the
Okay.
next one you do, like I said, whatever next topic, then yeah, that's just
Okay. All right.
it's very long.
So absolutely been a pleasure having you on tonight. So from all of us here, myself and the other team, the other girls are not here tonight, but next week by God's grace, we'll all be together in one place again. So Chris, it's been lovely having you.
Yeah.
Good night. God bless.
Bless.
God bless.